Hey, welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing my September wrap-up. Okay, so I've been really busy this month. Somehow I still managed to read a decent amount of books, so I'm gonna share them with you now. We're gonna go in order of when I read them. So the very first book I read, I finished at the very beginning of September, and that was Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. I've had this on my TBR for a very, very long time. If you've followed me for any amount of time, you've probably seen me put this on a TBR before and then not read it. So I had to finally read it, and I did. I'm really glad I did. It was so cozy and cute and fun. I gave it 4 stars. Essentially, Legends and Lattes follows our main character, who I think is an ogre, maybe not an ogre, or an orc. I can't remember. But she essentially was working as kind of like a bounty hunter, not really a bounty hunter. I don't know how to explain it. She goes on quests and does things, and she decides to leave that life behind and go build a coffee shop. And so it's all about her building her coffee shop, and the friendships she makes along the way. It's really cute. I don't know, something about reading them making their little coffee shop in this fantasy world that was so nice to me. I've never read a cozy fantasy, and this is like the cozy fantasy. And I really enjoyed it. So definitely glad I picked this one up. And it was on my fall TBR, so I checked that off, thankfully. It's very long, and I still haven't read half of the books on that TBR, but we're working on it. Next up is one book that I was very excited to read, so I also read it in the very beginning of September. I just needed to get it out of the way because I was tired of waiting. It took me a while to find it and get my hands on a copy, but that is Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. I loved this book. I already pre-ordered Ruthless Vows. So excited. I gave it 5 stars. I loved this book so much. Okay, so this follows Iris and Roman, who are kind of enemies at this newspaper they work for. They're fighting against each other to get the spot of columnist, and there's also a war happening between these 2 gods who used to be asleep and now are awake. Her brother has been sent away to war, and she is writing him letters and putting them in her wardrobe, and they magically disappear. They begin writing letters to each other, essentially. They're showing up to Roman. He's writing back to her. She's going to go off to war to be a war correspondent, all those sorts of things. So it's got the enemies to lovers. I really liked the mythology in this. That was one of my big things. I have a reading vlog for both this and Legends and Lattes, so I'll put both of those up at some point in this video as well. But I gave it 5 stars. I'm really excited for the next book. It was worth the hype. I was really worried that it was going to let me down, but it didn't, and I'm really happy about it. The next book was the book that we chose for book club this month, and that was The Only One Left by Riley Sager. I had this sitting on my shelf for a couple weeks, and I've been dying to read it. Some of Riley Sager's books are not my favorite, so I was hoping that this would be a hit and not a miss, and it was pretty good. I ended up giving this book 4 stars. Essentially, we follow our main character who works as a home health care nurse, and she's made a mistake, so now her only option for a job is to go work for Lenora Hope, who allegedly murdered her entire family. Now she's an old woman who's had a stroke, can't really move or talk or do anything, and she's caring for her. And weird things start kind of going on in the house, and she's kind of looking for the answers of did she actually murder her entire family or not? I really liked this one. Unfortunately, I ended up giving it 4 stars because it didn't hit as hard as I thought it would, because when I was checking how long the book was, the last page is a newspaper article explaining everything that happened, and it spoiled it. So I spoiled myself. If I had not read that, though, I probably would have been just as shocked as everyone else. I'm starting to get an idea, but it was really good. I did really enjoy this. This was one of Riley Sager's books that I feel was a hit and not a miss. Next up is another book I've had on my TBR for a really long time, and that is Masters of Death by Olivia Blake. So I had the original copy of this book on my shelves, never read it, got this copy because I think this one's so cute. I love it. And so I decided to finally pick it up. It was on my fall TBR. Thought it was a good good idea. Essentially, it follows a couple of characters. So we have a vampire who is trying to sell a house that has a ghost in it, and then we have Fox, who is Death's godson, and he is marketing himself as a medium, and she goes to Fox for help to get rid of this ghost, and they find out that Death is missing, and it's like this journey of like getting Death back, and this huge game that has to be played. I don't really know how else to explain it without like giving things away, but I gave this book 4 stars. I actually really enjoyed it. It was definitely different, and I feel like Olivia Blake also is a little hit or miss for me, because like I loved the Atlas 6, didn't really like the second book. I liked Alone with You in the Ether, so I was kind of concerned going in, but I did actually really like it, and it's got some great characters. So I gave this 4 stars as well. I really enjoyed it. Next up is a series I have been dying to reread. As we all know, I'm on my Sarah J Maas reread, and this time I didn't want to start with Throne of Glass because I wanted to be able to just power through them. So I started with Assassin's Blade. If you were reading it for the first time, I do not recommend doing this, but since this is a reread, I was like, I'll start with Assassin's Blade. I also got the new paperbacks because I did not want to annotate in the hardcovers, which is why I've been putting off rereading these, but I got all the paperbacks, which I love, so I did get to annotate this copy of Assassin's Blade. I gave it 4 stars. I think that's what I gave it when I originally read it. I am not a novellas girly, so this is like the prequel to Throne of Glass, explaining like all the assassin quests she's going on. There's like 4 or 5 stories within this. I just don't like, I've learned this through rereading Shadowhunters. I don't like any of those novella books where it's like multiple novellas in one. It's just not for me. The Shatter Me novellas aren't terrible because it's just like 1 or 2 at a time, but I don't like these like bind-ups of novellas. Like I think that these are important because they do have like good information. Like it's not one I would say to skip, but it's just not as enjoyable to me as reading an actual novel with like meaningful plot. So I gave it 4 stars because I still enjoyed it. Throne of Glass has my heart. I'm really stressed because this month I'm going to try, or in October I'm going to try and read at least Throne of Glass, because I've really got to get to it if I'm going to finish all of them before Crescent City 3 comes out, and it's starting to stress me out a bit. But I knocked this one out. I'm very excited, but also very scared for the rest of this Throne of Glass journey, okay? Keep me in your thoughts, because it's going to be a rough one. Alright, and the last book that I read this month was The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. I thought it'd be a cute little mystery. Like, I took it with me to the beach when I went to the beach. I read like 40 pages of it at the beach and then quit and started reading the 4th book in the Ruthless Boys of the Zodiac Academy series. Or not of Zodiac Academy, of the Zodiac. I still haven't finished that book. It's on pause right now because I'm reading Happy Place by Emily Henry currently, because I got it at my library. I was tired of waiting for the paperback, so I just checked it out at the library, and then I'll get the paperback later. But I only read like a couple pages of this, then I quit, and then I decided I've got to finish this, so I powered through it. Essentially, this follows a group of people who live in a retirement village in England, and they're the Thursday Murder Club. They meet on Thursdays, and they talk about murders. This all started with one of their previous members who like she's now in like the nursing home portion of this retirement village, but she was a police detective, and she would bring old cold cases, and they would discuss them and come up with their own theories, and then someone actually gets murdered, and so they have a real life crime that they are determined that they can solve. I did really like that it was like all these old people trying to solve this murder, and they're like getting in with the police on it and making like besties with people in the police force. But it was just a little bit slow to me. Plot twists were really thrown out there at the end. I don't know. I gave this 3 stars. It's not that it was bad. It just fell a little flat for me, and I know it's a series. There's more. I don't think that I will continue the series. Who knows? But probably not. But it was just like there was many parts of this that I was just kind of bored. I kind of had to force myself through it. But at the same time, like there was parts of it that I liked. So I gave it 3 stars because I tend to rate higher usually. So So it wasn't terrible, wasn't my favorite. That's up to you. It's a mystery, but I'm not sure. I think some people would love this. I just don't think it was for me, really. That was really quick, but that is all that I read in September. I know this is like slightly late, but I've been super busy. Also, I haven't posted a video in like 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks, basically all month, because my camera broke and I had to send it in to get it fixed. They had to send me a replacement, so I haven't had that to like really film any vlogs, which is also part of the reason I haven't read as much, because there are a couple of things that I want to read that I know I want to do reading vlogs for. So I was waiting till I got my camera back to be able to do that. We're going to read some thrillers this month, and I will keep you updated. I'm going to do a weekly reading vlog like just this week, as soon as I'm done filming this video. So I am back. I'm sorry for the short little hiatus. Wasn't what I intended or wanted to do, but I just couldn't bring myself to film on my phone. It just looked so much worse. So I just took a little break, and now we're back, and we're gonna get back to reading vlogs and all that fun stuff. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.